This is a Victorian drawstring handbag, and I'm calling this the Victorian wedding handbag because of the colors I've used. It's a lovely lace circular handbag, and of course you can make it in a smaller or a larger size. You can see the bottom is a circle, and it can be made much smaller or much larger. I've also incorporated a piece of cardboard that matches the purse just to give it some body so it'll stand up. We're going to begin with a chain 2, and of course you can make your center whichever way you prefer making a center. I'm using this method because I want the center to be very tight. So I'm just chaining one very loosely. I've chained that. I'm chaining my second one, and now I'm going to work 8 single crochets. I'm inserting my hook in the center, pulling up a loop, and yarn over and pulling up another loop to create a single crochet. And I'm making 8 of them. We're going to be working in the spiral, so we're going to be marking off each row so I know where I am and where it begins or ends. Let me see where I am here. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. One more. And now I take my center and just pull that thread, and I've gotten a really tight center for that one. And I can work in my yarn as I continue to work. Stitch marker, either your first or last stitch, whichever way you prefer to do it. You can use a safety pin or just a bit of different colored thread will work. So now this is our first row, and we have 8 single crochets, and we're just going to work a single crochet, 2 of them in each round, and I am working in the back loop only. So there's going to be a little design or a circular edge that we'll see spiraling up. And so it's just 2 single crochets in the back loop of each single crochet. And if you don't want to use a stitch marker, there'll be an easy way to tell which row you're on, because you'll know how many the counts of the stitches. Now, depending on how big you make the bag, they can get quite high, the numbers you're counting. Since we're doing 2 in each single crochet, obviously there's going to be 16 in this first spiral round. So I'll know when I have enough stitches, because I'll be able to count 16, and I can see clearly that there's 2 in each round. However, it can get to be quite tricky, as I said, as you get higher up. And let's go 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. So now I'm back at my beginning. And I am going to mark this one now so I know I'm at my beginning stitch. And now the rows, this one is going to be a 2 single crochets in each stitch, the back loop also. So this next round is going to be 32. However, the following rounds are going to have they're going to be more spaced out, which means you're going to do 2 single crochets in the same single crochet, but then you're going to do 1 single crochet 3 times. So there'll be a single crochet in these, and then a double crochet. So each row is going to be increasing. So it may help to look at the pattern for this one, because you're going to be increasing 8 single crochets in each round, but it's going to be spaced out. So this first round is going to be every 3 single crochets you have a double, every 4, every 5, every 6, every 7, so it will be going up. We started with 32, then it's going to be 40, 48, 56, and again it just grows until you finally decide what size you're going to want it. I stopped at 96, and the bottom of mine measures, it's an 8-inch circle. Now you may want to make it, like I said, much smaller, or you may want to make it much larger. Once you've reached the number of spirals you're going to use, how big you're going to make that base, you start working evenly. Don't increase anymore. Just start working evenly. And like I said, my number was 96. So I'm going to work rows of even. First of all, I'm going to join with the slip stitch here. Whenever I get to where I'm in my beginning, I'm just going to join it. So now my rounds are going to be working evenly up. And I said I did mine at 96, and what you'll start to notice then, once you start working evenly, it's going to start to cup. It's going to start to cup up, and you're going to start to create this bottom. Now for mine, because of the lace I'm using and I wanted it to layer over, I started out with 5 rows of single crochets, worked evenly, and then I'm adding now my lace, and the lace row or round, begin with doubling over your lace. I'm going to move this back, and you'll see there's little ladders, at least 2 or 3 double over, and the reason for that is you want a nice clean edge on your side. You don't want it to be the ragged edge hanging out there. So that's very simple. As we're working our rounds, we're going to begin with folding over, and this is a front stitch, so I'm putting this in front, and I'm going to continue. Insert my hook under those ladders, and I'm going to continue working in the back loop only. So I'm going through the back loop of my single crochet, yarn over, pull through, and simply make a single crochet. Because I don't want these ruffles as tight as in some items that I've made, I'm going to put 2 plain single crochets working in the back loop only. And I'm going to then do my next front ruffle single crochet stitch. And you just continue that as your ruffle row. That's the pattern. Working in the back loop, doing a ruffle stitch, and then 2 single crochets. And when you've gotten to where you started, you've worked around and you've gotten where you started, just drop your lace to the front, and we'll pick it up on our next row. And that's when it helps to have the marker. You'll see where the marker is, and you know that's where your row is. The next row is going to begin. So on your last stitch, you drop your lace to the front, and now you just begin working again in the back loop only, and keeping the number equal, single crochets all the way around. And when you've gotten back to when it's time to begin a lace row, you just merely pick up the lace from the bottom and start incorporating that. Now for mine, I've done a lace row, 2 single crochet plain rows, and another lace row. So that's my pattern. If your lace is very thick, you may want to incorporate a few more single crochet rows in between just to make sure it layers nicely. Or if you're using a ribbon, the ribbon yarn is very thin, so you would want to maybe only use 1 row of plain single crochets, or you may not want to use any. You may just work straight with the ribbon yarn as you work around to make sure that you have a nice little layering of ruffles. When you get to as high up as you want or as deep as you want, mine's about, I think, 9.5 inches, the entire purse. So I've come up, I've worked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 rows. So I've done 9 rows of lace here. And now I'm getting up to the top, and I want to finish off to create my ribbon row. So I've worked 1 row of single crochets, still working in the back loop only, and then I switch. For this one, I've joined with the slip stitch in that last single crochet, and now I'm chain 3 for my first double crochet. I skip 1 single crochet in this row, chain 1, and then I work 2 double crochets in the next row. And then I chain 1, skip 1 single crochet, work 2 double crochets. Chain 1, skip 1, work 2 double crochets. And I work that all the way around, ending with a double crochet 1 and then a slip stitch into that big top of that first chain 3. So I have, as you can see, 2 double crochets a space, 2 double crochets a space, 2 double crochets a space, and I ended off with 1 row of single crochets. You may want to add something a little fancy at the top, like a shell stitch or something, to do another extra little ruffle. Then I take my ribbon, and starting at one edge, I've just made it a knot here. You can do whatever you want, and then take one side of the ribbon and weave in and out and go all the way around and then join it. Like I said, I just made a little knot. You may want to do something fancier at that end. Then, starting at exactly the opposite end, repeat it, but when you weave, make sure you're weaving it the opposite way as you did the previous row. And again, tie it off and make a little bow or ribbon. And that way, when you draw it in, it draws evenly and very nicely, and you can open it up. Now for this one, if you want, I added a little decoration in the front. I just attached it. And of course, if it's a wedding, they may have colors they're using, and you could add a little flower, bow, rose, whatever you like in that location. It does make a lovely wedding gift or a decorative evening purse. If you would like to see the written pattern, go to free patterns at simpleandsensational.com and look under Ruffles Galore. And this one is the wedding purse or handbag.